Hello everyone, back tuning into today's second video. We're going to have a look at GWV Sunday Round-Up for today's second video. So this is your usual Sunday afternoon eclectic mix of this and that, looking at things like solar activity, sea surface temperature, anomalies, ENSO, SOI, Arctic Oscillation, North Atlantic Oscillation, and weather next week to 10 days as well. I think these are very interesting weather in the next week to 10 days, hot temperatures, and maybe a bit of thunder as well. So we'll talk about that in the second part of the video. The autumn analogues were released, first video up today, so that's the fourth analogues update for the autumn of 2019. That video is currently here on the homepage at GWV, and later on today, more like this evening, it'll be placed on the autumn updates and forecast page. There'll be a written summary going over everything that we discussed in video with that one. And also I'm going to tell you that coming up later on this afternoon, we're going to have the June update for the long-range models from Meteo France, ECMWF, and DWD as well. So that's going to be quite an interesting watch, and that'll be with you later on this afternoon. Now, I'm going to say big thank you to our latest patron. We are up to 63 patrons for GWV. So I'm going to say a big thank you to Nick. Nick has become GWV's 63rd patron. So a big thank you to Nick for becoming our 63rd patron for GWV. So if you would like to become a patron for GWV, as Nick has done, all you need to do is come to GWV's Patreon page. You sign up for a Patreon account and then give an ongoing monthly donation to GWV. It can be anything from $1 a month upwards. You will pool in with all of the other patrons, and by doing that, you become an official and formal patron for GWV. So we'll give you a shout out in the videos. We'll say thank you so much for doing that. So that's how you become a patron for GWV. Alternatively, you can give a donation to GWV via PayPal. This is the GWV PayPal page. So it's really simple. Just come here, you sign into your PayPal account, and then send a donation to GWV. And again, we'll give you a mention in videos. We'll say thank you so much for doing that. So whether you do it through Patreon or through PayPal, you'll still get a mention in videos as long as you want one. If you'd rather stay anonymous, then that's fine. Just leave a little note with your donation. So a big thank you to all of the patrons. A big thank you to all of the donors for GWV, and a special thank you to Nick for becoming our 63rd patron. Thanks so much, Nick, for doing that. Right, so let's get on with the video then. I'm going to start off by having a look at the oceans today. So this is how things are looking with the sea surface temperature anomalies in the Pacific and Atlantic Oceans when we did last week's GWV Sunday Round-Up. We've got our three specific areas of interest. We've got the ENSO region, of course, just here. Then we've got the Northern Pacific up there. Then we've got the North Atlantic over here. That's how the oceans were looking last week then, and this is the very latest with the ocean. So dealing with the ENSO region first of all, we still remain, as we have been for several months now really, sort of somewhere between ENSO neutral and weak El Nino. So again, we see that we have got slightly above average sea surface temperature anomalies. There is a weak signature of El Nino continuing, but it is very, very weak, and over the past week, since we did last week's GWV Sunday Round-Up, very, very little change in the ENSO region. Going further north into the Northern Pacific Ocean, things have warmed up further in this northeastern corner of the Pacific Ocean. So now the sea surface temperature anomalies are running very, very warm up there once again. Over in the North Atlantic, let's go back to last week. See how things were looking. So that's how things looked in the North Atlantic last week. This is the very latest. So we can say that we've still got this colder than average area here close to Newfoundland. Tropical Atlantic looking a bit warmer than average, so quite warm down in the Tropical Atlantic. That could be important as we get later into the summer, because that's where we sort of spawn the tropical storms, and eventually they can become hurricanes. So if it's warmer than average with sea surface temperature anomalies there, then it will tend to coincide with sort of increased hurricane and tropical storm activity. In the northern Atlantic, right in the far north, close to Greenland, things have actually warmed up a little bit over towards Greenland as well. So it's been a little while now since we've seen sea surface temperature anomalies to the south of Greenland looking warmer than average. Close to the UK, things are warming up very rapidly now. It's still colder than average in the Atlantic and going down towards the Bay of Biscay. Sea surface temperature anomalies there, still colder than average, but they are beginning to warm up in the North Sea. Mediterranean is also starting to warm up, particularly the Eastern Med and the Adriatic. These are all shallow waters. They're prone to rapid increase and decrease with in temperature with the weather, so it doesn't take much hot weather really to start warming these sea surface temperature anomalies up in these shallow waters. And I suspect we will see, because there's going to be some pretty hot weather coming up over the next week, I suspect we'll see those sea surface temperature anomalies warming up very rapidly in those shallow waters around the UK and around the Med and the Bay of Biscay, those sort of areas. I mean, we're talking about comparatively shallow compared to, like, the deep oceanic waters. These waters just here in the middle of the Atlantic and in the middle of the Pacific, they change over much slower timescales because they are far deeper oceanic type waters. So that's how the oceans are looking. We'll have a look at that again. We'll do the next GWV Sunday Round-Up, of course. Thought I'd show you this. This is how the sea surface temperature anomalies looked in the Atlantic last year. At this point last year, so I had a very striking, a very unusual sea surface temperature anomaly profile with this sort of horseshoe shape of colder than average sea surface temperature anomalies from southern Greenland going down into the middle of the North Atlantic, and in between it was much warmer than average. Very unusual sea surface temperature anomaly profile. And of course, this coincided with that really hot June and July that we had last year. So sea surface temperature anomalies this year in the Atlantic are very, very different to where they were last year. That's this year, of course, very latest. This is last year. Very, very different sea surface temperature anomalies from last year to this year. No comparison whatsoever. Of course, we are having a very different summer as well. So maybe that's that sort of profile that we had in the Atlantic sort of helped to promote the hot summer that we had last week. There was a theory, you'll remember, during the rounds last year, that the sea surface temperature anomalies in the Atlantic were kind of similar to 1976. So it's interesting that there was a similarity with the sea surface temperature anomalies between last summer and the summer of 1976. Both of them were hot summers. But then you look at other summers like other hot summers like 1995, and that didn't have that profile either. So I'm not sure how important the Atlantic sea surface temperatures are in the summer. But anyway, no comparison to this year and last year with those sea surface temperature anomalies. This is the SOI, it's the Southern Oscillation Index from Queensland Government, which I think is part of Bureau of Meteorology down in Australia. The SOI is an index that's reflecting the atmospheric state in the Southern Pacific Ocean. So when the SOI is negative, then the atmospheric state is reflective of El Nino. When the SOI is positive, atmospheric state is reflective of La Nina. If we scroll down, you can see that we have had some very, very negative numbers over the past few days with the SOI. So we have the 18th of June here going down to -11. We have a 19th of June going down to -11. And then what happens on the 20th, a real crash down to -19. But that's nothing compared to the 21st of June, which goes down to -35.29, and the 22nd of June, which goes down to -42.04. Exceptionally negative SOI numbers, and that tells us that the atmosphere over the past few days has been in a very, very strongly reflective state of El Nino. It's been very strongly reflecting El Nino down there in the Southern Ocean. Latest number for the 23rd of June is minus 18.63, so still strongly reflective of El Nino. And if these very negative numbers were to carry on through the next few weeks, we would see the El Nino signature strengthening through the Pacific Ocean. So we would see El Nino powering up. Of course, that's only a few days worth of data, and if we go a little bit further down, you can actually see that there were some positive numbers before that. So, for example, we've got the 11th of June at plus 19.61. So it appears to be swinging wildly between positive and negative. But certainly the past few days have been very, very negative with the SY. If that was to go on over a consistent period, over a few weeks, then we would see El Nino powering up. But of course, it's just a few days worth of data, and we'll see where things are looking next week. This is the solar disk on our side of this today from solarham.net. So we have no sunspots again. We've had over a month now without any sunspots on the solar disk. So activity is therefore at very low levels. Solarham is reporting that its forecast expected to remain at very low levels for the next 3 days at least. This is the GWV Sunday Round-Up Solar Activity Tracker, updated to the 22nd of June by good-brained James Ackrill. Again, big thanks to James for sending this through, of course. Again, we can see that, as we saw last week, the trend lines are on the floor. The orange line is depicting each individual day's worth of sunspots. You can see we have had over a month now flatlining on the floor of the chart without any sunspots at all, and that also we can see the thick green and the thick red lines are sort of on the floor of the chart as well. So this is all telling us that we are now at a really, really low level of solar activity. Been a little while since we had one of these spikes. We will get a sunspot at some point, I suppose, to break this run of spotlessness, but it does appear that we are moving inexorably into true solar minima. We won't know when we are at true solar minimum until it's happened. So we won't know when we've reached the true solar minimum of solar cycle 24 until solar cycle 25 begins. And that could be anything from kind of like 3 to 6 months away. It might be longer than that. It might be into next year before solar cycle 25 starts to power up. But certainly it does look as though we are now at a really, really low level of solar activity. And the reason we look at this is that there is an increased risk of northern blocking when you're around solar minimum in the winter, particularly in the UK and for Europe. I think the connection is less strong for other parts of the northern hemisphere, but when you're around or possibly just after solar minimum, you increase the risk of northern blocking and you increase the risk of colder winters. So obviously we are now at a very, very low level of solar activity indeed. And we shall keep an eye on that. Big thank you to James for sending the solar tracker through once again this week. So this is how Eurasian snow cover is looking. We can see we're pretty much snow-free now across Siberia. We still have a few patches here and there, probably mostly around the Arctic Circle and mountainous areas. There's still a few patches here and there, but essentially it's more or less snow-free across most of Siberia now. And we will see the last of those patches of snow clearing in the next week or two, I would have thought. You'll notice going into the Arctic Circle that the melt season is well underway. Of course, this yellow area is Arctic sea ice, where we've got blue areas. That's where the ice is sort of melting, and we've got wards sort of opening up in between those masses of ice. We can actually see how the melt season is going. This is showing Arctic sea ice extent. So if I put in 2019, the grey line, of course, is the trend, the long-term sort of 30-year trend. We know that we've gone through melt season and we bottom out sort of end of August, early September, down around there. So if I put 2019, you can see how it compares to average, and obviously it's below average for Arctic sea ice extent. Let's put in 2012. That's the death spiral year. That's the year when we had a really big melt across the Arctic, and you'll see how much below average. So remember, the grey line is average. That green dashed line is 2012. So you see how bad the melt season was in 2012. That's why it's referred to as a death spiral. Where we are right now, it's actually been under 2012 for Arctic sea ice extent through the spring. So again, the orange line here is the current year, 2019, but we have sort of caught up with 2012 now, so we're kind of like on a par with 2012 at the moment. How does that compare to sort of the last few years? Well, this is 2018, so very much on a par with 2018. That's 2017, on a par with that year as well. A little bit below 2017, but probably not dramatically so. That's 2016, on a par that year too. 2015, 2014, and 2013. So you can see all the years are kind of like grouped together there at this stage in the melt season. But obviously, as we get through to the end of the melt season in early September, the green line very much, that green dash line, I should say, which is 2012, very much breaks away from the other grouping. That's why it's referred to as the death spiral. So at the moment we are below average, obviously, with Arctic sea ice, but we're sort of on a par with where we've been over several of the last few years. We'll know more about that as we get towards August and September. This is the Arctic Oscillation Observed and Forecast chart. So the black line shows where we've been, with the AO, red lines at the end, where the GFS ensembles are forecasting the AO to go. Remember, it's just an index that's reflecting the atmospheric state, not driving anything in its own terms. It just tells you what the atmosphere is doing. When the Arctic Oscillation is positive, you've got low pressure up over the North Pole. When the Arctic Oscillation is negative, you've got high pressure blocking up over the North Pole. Been for a prolonged period of negativity of the Arctic Oscillation. Where we are right now is actually around neutral. We're going to go negative again over the next week or so. So that's interesting, actually, as the temperature is getting really hot across many parts of Europe. The AO, Arctic Oscillation, is actually going to be going negative. So there will be northern blocking involved in this heat wave that we've got coming up across many parts of Europe in the next week or so, which is quite unusual for that to happen. In the more extended range, so taking us through the early part of July, it looks like the AO is beginning to recover back closer to neutral, possibly even going a little bit onto the positive side then as we go through the first week of July. NAO looks like that's again been for a very negative phase of the NAO as well. We can see that really since around middle of April the NAO has been trending negative. The whole of May was negative with the NAO too, and the whole of June so far has been negative as well. That's where we are right now, and again we're just on the negative side of neutral. GFS ensembles forecasting us to stay there through the rest of June. So we're going to have 2 months, May and June, that are going to be entirely negative with the NAO, it looks like. Early July, though, perhaps signs of a change. Again, that's the first week of July just there. It is in the extended range of the GFS and its ensemble, so it's a bit unreliable. But it does look as though the first week of July we start to see the NAO beginning to trend positive. That'll be the first time that the NAO has been positive, kind of like since the 3rd week of April, perhaps. So it's been a long time coming, but it does look as though early July might be starting to see a bit of a shift in the NAO. Remember, this is reflecting the atmospheric state in the North Atlantic. So when the NAO is negative, you're going to have high pressure close to Iceland and low pressure through the Azores. When the NAO goes positive, you're going to have low pressure around Iceland and high pressure through the Azores. That could be a sign that as we get through to July, we're going to lose this northern blocking that we've had for quite a long time and possibly start powering up the Azores high. That doesn't guarantee warm weather, though. It doesn't guarantee hot weather. It can do if the Azores high ridges in, but of course if you're going to power up the westerlies, then it's also possible that you might go into quite a zonal and westerly type pattern, which in summer is going to be quite cool, because westerlies, Atlantic air in the summer is always going to be cooler than continental air. Of course, that's reverse in the winter, when Atlantic air will always be milder than continental air. But anyway, signs that the NAO is perhaps going into a bit of a more positive phase through early part of July. We shall see about that. Let's do a bit of forecasting then. So these are the GFS upper air temperature and precipitation ensembles for the next couple of weeks. We're looking at Glastonbury today. I thought we'd have a look at the ensemble chart for Glastonbury, as we are well and truly doing the Glastonbury updates, of course, at the moment. Next one of those coming up tomorrow. The red line here is a 30-year upper air temperature average for Glastonbury. So we're milder than average at the moment. Warmer than average temperatures are on the up through the next week. So we reach our peak sometime around the end of this week and into next weekend, going close to 20 Celsius at 850 HPA, which is very hot air indeed in terms of the upper air temperatures. And then as we go through the first week of July, that's this period just here, you see that the temperatures are lowering. So we go actually a little bit cooler than average there, would you believe, around the 2nd and the 3rd of July. And after that, just sticking quite close to the 30-year average, but maybe a bit of an increase in temperature starting to appear there as we get to the end of the first week of July. Could that be our next hot spell? It's a very long way off. Although temperatures are lifting up, it's going to be quite unsettled, though. You see regular precipitation spikes coming through pretty much from today onwards. So it's going to be an ongoing risk. We've talked about this in the Glastonbury updates. There's going to be an ongoing risk of showers or thunderstorms over the next few days. Possibly a drier spell there from around the 27th to the 29th or 30th. So a few days of dry weather in the second half of this coming week, when the temperature is peaking, probably, and then maybe going more unsettled again as we get through to the beginning of July. It looks rather showery, though, despite these very hot upper air temperatures. Temperature anomalies on the 23rd of June to the 1st of July. A little bit warmer than average for the UK and Ireland. Maybe not as much as you would expect, though, given how hot that ensemble graph was looking in terms of the upper air temperatures. Very, very hot across France and Germany, and also Belgium, Holland, and also down to Spain and Portugal. So the west of Europe really is going to be baking in the week ahead, but maybe not as hot for the UK and Ireland as you might think, with upper air temperatures going up to 20 degrees at 850 HPA. Much of Russia and Scandinavia actually looking a bit cooler than average in the week ahead. Precipitation anomalies look like that, so close to average with precipitation anomalies. Really down in the far south, it's a bit drier than average. Otherwise, does tell us that there's going to be a risk of showers at the very least in the week ahead. That's how the GFS is looking for Wednesday then. So we're bringing in these very warm winds from the continent on Wednesday. That continues into Thursday too. There's the upper air temperature showing hot air is getting into the south on Thursday. Other parts of the country are very warm as we go through to Friday, where we're almost under an area of high pressure on Friday. So I think we do shift from the showers and thunderstorms in the early part of this week to drier conditions in the second half, and increasingly hot as the air comes up from the south. There's the upper air temperatures again looking really hot down across southern parts of the country in particular, but the whole of England and Wales looks very warm. Exceptionally hot through France and going down into Spain. Look how that heat plume is coming out of North Africa, surging northwards through Spain and into France as well. That's Saturday, so the heat wave goes on into Saturday. High pressure still centred over just to the east of us, still pulling up these very hot winds from the south. It actually gets even hotter on Saturday. This could be the peak, actually. Saturday, 29th of June, that could be the peak of the heat wave. By Sunday the 30th, it looks like it's beginning to turn a bit more unsettled as low pressure is heading in off the Atlantic, and we're beginning to shove that hot air out of the way to the east. By the time we get through to Monday the 1st of July, we're in a much cooler, fresher northwesterly flow. Look how the upper air temperatures have dropped dramatically by the first day of July, and they're going to quite a coolish sort of northerly, northwesterly as we get to day 10, which is Wednesday the 3rd. Winds are in from the northwest, and temperatures obviously have lowered a lot there. Look at the upper air temperatures, how much cooler they're looking. We did see on that ensemble graph for Glastonbury that by the time we get through to the 2nd, 3rd of July, we may actually be a little bit cooler than average with the upper air temperatures. After that, the GFS wants to move low pressure in off the Atlantic, so not only does it turn cooler on this GFS run, it also turns much more unsettled as well. And by the end of it, that takes us to Tuesday the 9th of July, possibly a few hints of northern blocking beginning to return. That's a very long way off, of course. This is the GEM, so again looking at rather warm and potentially a little bit thundery on Wednesday. Then the high pressure sort of singes in across the country the second half of the week. That will kill off a lot of the shower and thunderstorm risk, I think, through the second half of the week. Gets hotter, though, as the winds start to come in from the southeast. Look at the upper air temperatures, 20 Celsius isotherm there, covering much of England and Wales. In the southeast, if there's enough sunshine, that would certainly be enough to get temperatures towards mid-30s Celsius, I would have thought. That's Saturday, again, bringing up these hot southerly southeast winds, maybe wobbling a little bit on Saturday, turning thundery. 20 Celsius isotherm there is very much involved. We're getting perilously close to pulling in a 25 Celsius isotherm into that extreme southeast corner. But by Sunday it's all over because the wind goes into the northwest. May have been some sort of thundery breakdown introducing those northwesterlies, but the main thing is that temperatures drop significantly, so much cooler and fresher air pushing that through on Sunday. And as going to the extended range with the GEM, we keep high pressure close to us, so it never turns unsettled actually with the GEM. Up to day 10, high pressure is very close, but it's a cooler, fresher air mass. That would actually be very nice. Temperatures would be kind of like low 20s. There'd be plenty of sunshine, dry conditions, and low humidity as well. So quite a nice, fresh, but settled start to July with the GEM. And the ECMWF, again for Wednesday, looking very warm, humid, maybe a bit thundery, probably quite cloudy, which limits the temperature potential up to midweek. But the second half of the week, again, we bring this high pressure and centre it almost over top of the country. So this should get rid of a lot of the cloud the second half of the week. And we start putting in these very hot temperatures from France. Look at the upper air temperatures, how close that 25 Celsius isotherm is getting to the UK. It's actually affecting the Channel Islands. 25 Celsius isotherm does get to the Channel Islands and possibly just at the far southwestern tip of Cornwall. So I don't think we've ever pulled in the 25 Celsius isotherm before, so that would be sort of record breaking there in terms of the upper air temperature. I don't know what the surface temperatures would be doing, but certainly that's exceptionally hot air to be so far north. Rest of the country just looks really hot. 20 Celsius isotherm is across central and southern parts of England and Wales. That's Saturday. Again, the heat wave goes on. High pressure centred over just to our east, pulling up these really hot southeasterly winds. Again, we've got 20 Celsius isotherm covering much of England and Wales. It's going to be really interesting how hot it's going to get in the second half of this week and into next weekend. That's Sunday, and actually the ECM continues a heat wave into Sunday. So the 20 Celsius isotherm is still there across England and Wales. Cooler air is trying to get into the north and the west of the country. By the time we get through to Monday, this is Monday 1st of July, possibly a bit of a thundery trough slipping southwards across the country and beginning to introduce cooler air. Although you'll see that really hot air is still across the southeast even at midnight on Monday. So the ECM is much longer with this hot spell. It doesn't move those hot temperatures out of the way actually until the early part of next week. This is Tuesday, 2nd of July. Winds now have gone into the northwest, much cooler air sinking southwards across the country. And that's Wednesday. We're close to high pressure. We're within cooler and fresher air. Although you don't have to go very much further south into France to find the hot air. So wouldn't take that much to bring it back, I don't suppose. But definitely by early July, temperatures have lowered a lot. However, the ECM does have 2 or 3 more hot days in comparison to the GFS and the GM, or at least 1 or 2 more hot days in comparison to those 2 models. So we shall see. This is the precipitation forecast from that ECMWF run at temeteo.com. So just to see how showers and storms are forecast to develop. I know a lot of you waiting for Storm Watch. Probably won't be able to have time to get that in today, but definitely will be doing Storm Watch tomorrow. I would have thought if I can get it in today, then I will do so. But really, really busy with all of these updates today. So this is the precipitation forecast for today. You'll see it got heavy rain into the southwest, the ECM at midday, and then pushes it northwards at the western side of the country into this afternoon and this evening. This is midnight when it looks like it's pouring with rain from Northern Ireland through the Irish Sea into the northwest Midlands, going up into Northern England. There could be thunderstorms involved in that. And then the rain pushes northwards into Scotland, giving a real drenching to Scotland through course of tonight and tomorrow morning, with more showers and storms pushing up from the south following along behind. This is midnight Monday to Tuesday. Again, looks like got more thunderstorms, this time more centred across central and eastern parts of the country. Torrential rain through parts of the East Midlands, Lincolnshire, down from East Anglia, South East England. Violent thunderstorms there, I would have thought. And those storms carry on through the course of Tuesday on this eastern side of the country, with showers elsewhere. Certainly possible as well. But then we get through to Wednesday and we have some storms down in the far southwestern part of the country. But once those get out of the way, we actually go much drier, and that's because the high pressure is sinking in to the country in the second half of the week. So that kills off a lot of the showers and storms as we go through into the second half of the week. We'll get rid of a lot of the cloud as well, I think. And so as we're going day by day through to the end of this week and into next weekend, so you'd expect more in way of sunshine. Temperatures get much hotter then, and also we kill off the shower and thunderstorm risk. This takes us to next Sunday, 30th of June, and by then perhaps a few storms breaking out once again as it begins to cool down. And then going to a different air mass from the Atlantic, trying to get through to the 2nd and 3rd of July with cooler, fresher and bringing showers back into the north and west. So the greatest thunderstorm risk looks like it's going to be kind of like from today through to Tuesday. After that, thunderstorms look like they're going to diminish as we get through to the second half of the week, and then the focus will shift towards how hot is it going to get. CFS V2 for the next 4 weeks. These are 500 millibar heights broken down into week periods. The first weekly period will take us from the 23rd to the 29th of June. Coming week has above average heights over and to the east and north country, below average heights down to southwest. That's pulling up these hot southeasterly winds. So yes, heat wave coming up at the end of this coming week. All changing to week 2. This is the 30th of June to the 6th of July. Low pressure then up to the north of Scotland. Return of the westerlies, much cooler, fresher conditions. Winds back off the Atlantic and rather showery too. That's week 3, taking us from the 7th to the 13th of July with below average heights almost over the top of the country, so that one looks rather cool and unsettled as well. And then week 4, which is the 14th to the 20th of July, above average heights away to the northeast and in the middle of the Atlantic, below average heights up to the north, probably still in a bit of a showery and rather cool westerly flow then. So once this heat wave is over by the beginning of July, there's no sign at the moment that the CFS wants to bring it back. This is how July itself is looking from the CFS V2. These are 700 millibar. It's 700 millibar height anomaly for July. Above average height centred close to the country. So it is going for rather a settled July. I would have thought winds are coming in from an east to northeasterly direction. Temperatures aren't excessively warm through July. It's a little bit warmer than average, but not exceptionally so. And precipitation anomalies are close to average, as they always are with the CFS V2. Final thing I want to leave you with is the 700 millibar height anomaly for the winter of 2019-2020 from CFS V2 at the moment. It's going to change a lot over the next few months, so don't get excited about this at all. At the moment, though, it is going for a substantial northern blocking around Greenland and Iceland with a trough to our east, and that would pull in cold northeasterly winds. So would you believe the CFS, we don't get to say this very often, so that's why I wanted to end the video with this, the CFS is actually going for a 700 millibar high only. That would be conducive to a cold, maybe even very cold winter with substantial northern blocking close to Greenland and Iceland. That will change a lot over the next few months, so don't take that at all seriously. But I wanted to end with that because next Sunday, the 30th of June, we're going to release the winter 2019-2020 NAO forecast, North Atlantic Oscillation forecast, for the winter 2019-2020 will be released a week today, Sunday the 30th of June. That means there'll be no autumn analogues. Not sure there'll be a Sunday roundup, there probably will be, but certainly no autumn analogues next week because we've got that NAO forecast coming up, and that's going to be a really, really interesting watch, I would have thought. So next Sunday, just a week to wait for that. And then around 5 o'clock in the evening, we're going to do a little live stream, I think, where we're going to discuss that NAO forecast live on our YouTube channel. Right, so that's it. Very extended GWV Sunday Round-Up this week. Hope you found it interesting and informative. Don't forget to check out the autumn analogues. That video is going to be placed on the autumn updates page with a written summary going over everything that we discussed in the video this evening. And between now and then, we've got the ECMWF Metro France and DWD seasonal model update coming up for you later on this afternoon. That's all for now then, and thanks for watching.